Okay, hello everybody. My name is Pablo Corvalan. I'm a lecturer at Universidad Metropolitana de Ciencias de la Educación. Specifically, I teach grammar there. Well, in today's lesson, we're going to take a look at lexicogrammar and at ways in which this concept can be applied in the classroom. The lesson is directed to upper intermediate students and advanced students. But, of course, it can well be modified and adapted to suit the needs of students with lower levels of proficiency. The concept of lexicogrammar has been in the air for quite some time now. It is the result of several proposals that have been supported by research in the area of grammar, lexis, and particularly corpus linguistics. Traditionally, grammar and lexis have been studied as separate phenomena. From this perspective, as we can see in the slide, lexis is typically seen as the study of meaningful words, which are defined, for example, in dictionaries with separate entries. On the other hand, grammar is defined as the study of structures in language. Within grammar, we include such notions as phrase, clause, sentence, etc. In other words, grammar studies the possible combinations that words can take in a language. Even though traditional grammar recognizes several aspects that can be said to be borderline cases between grammar and lexis, such as phrasal verbs, prepositions, collocations, among others, it is not until recently that we have more rigorous explanations to account for those facts observed. I think that a good starting point to approach the issue of lexicogrammar is given by the cognitive framework, which recognizes a gradient between grammar and lexis. Cognitive linguistics, as we see in our slide, you see views language as part of human thought. Therefore, grammar and lexis reflect our physical, psychological, and social experiences. Within this framework, grammar is seen to reflect the generalized experiences we have of the world and of our own. Lexis represents the specific experiences. A clarifying example is given by Radden and Derwin in their book Introduction to Cognitive Linguistics or Cognitive Grammar, published in 2007. And they say that, for example, tense is a grammatical form used to express the general notion of time. That is, we have present, past, and future. Specific notions of time, such as years, hours, and days, are expressed by lexical material. Of course, this distinction is not absolute. There are fuzzy boundaries with several experiences in between. To illustrate, we can say that while grammar and lexis form two subsystems, these are in fact often intertwined. As can be observed in the following slide, grammar forms a system of several layers with prototypically grammatical elements at the center, such as the case of tense for the notion of time. Similarly, there are clearly unambiguous lexical items such as 1985 or the word April. Those expressions used for that same notion of time. However, for example, several time adverbials are in fact borderline cases, as they constitute grammatical structures that are in fact processed and used as if they were single lexical units. Corpus linguistics has revealed that many of these expressions operate as chunks. That is to say, they are grammatical units that have been internalized as lexical items. They have practically become words. Examples appear on the slide. We've got in the morning, at night, twice a week, at any time, for nearly a century, when I was a child. As you see, yes, these elements should be viewed as rather lexical items than constructions. They're better studied as words in the morning rather than as prepositional phrases. That's why it's also so arbitrary, the use of a preposition in an ad particularly. A very good example of lexicogrammatical items is given by conjuncts or textual connectors, which are not to be confused with sentence connectors such as coordinators and subordinators. Conjuncts or linking adverbials are those expressions that help connect a text. They do so by making explicit the meaning relationship between portions of text, as addition, time, sequence, etc. They can be grouped according to that meaning, as is illustrated in the slide. Yes, for example, we've got time conjuncts. Within that category we have expressions such as first of all, meanwhile, in the end. Addition conjuncts, in addition, similarly, in the same way, by the same token. The otherwise usual conjunction and, which in this case appears with a capital letter, because as a conjunct it is typically used in sentence initial position. It appears at the beginning of a sentence. I know that some of you are going to say that conjunctions should not be used at the beginning of a sentence, but that's a prescriptive tradition that has been overruled by empirical research coming from corpus linguistics. It is quite frequent to find and at the beginning of a sentence, even in very formal and carefully planned writing. We've got also result conjuncts such as a result, therefore, as a consequence, etc. Contrast conjuncts, on the contrary, by contrast, on the other hand. Concession conjuncts such as however, that said, nevertheless, and again the otherwise typical conjunctions but and yet, which in this case we're going to treat as conjuncts and not as coordinators. As you can see, these expressions, some of these expressions are actual lexims and they are unambiguous lexims, but most of the expressions I've added on this list are actually grammatical constructions which have become lexims or which have been internalized by native speakers as lexical items. We've got more. Yes, we've got exemplification conjuncts, for example. Well, and there we have it, for example, for instance, to illustrate, as an example. Clarification conjuncts, in other words, put differently, that is, or that is to say. Identification conjuncts, namely, specifically, especially. Notice it's especially, not specially. In particular,